Yo, what's going on, guys? In this video, I'm going to teach you exactly how I learned Spanish. For those that you don't know, I've been living in Latin America for about a year and a half, 2 years now. So I started learning Spanish around that time. As soon as I arrived, I went from absolutely nothing to being able to speak the language pretty well. So in this video, I'm going to teach you how I did it and how you can too, but probably a bit quicker. First thing I want to get into, guys, is just explain like how much bullshit there is on the internet in terms of how hard it is and how much time it takes to learn a language. I've seen things like learn a language and learn Spanish in 30 days, learn Spanish in 60 days, 90 days, etc. There's absolutely no way that you're going to be able to learn this language that quickly. This is going to take you 1 to 2 years just to get to about a 6, maybe a 7 out of 10. And that's putting in a lot of work as well. The next thing I want to say, guys, a lot of people start off with the apps like Duolingo, etc. That's fine if you want to do that in the beginning, but in terms of being able to learn this language, you got to take it a lot more seriously, and it requires commitment and discipline and actually following a proper course and having a proper roadmap laid out in terms of what you're going to follow and start. The other thing as well, guys, if you're not planning on living in a Spanish-speaking country, or you're not currently living in one, I wouldn't even bother learning Spanish. It is a very difficult thing to learn. And obviously, it's not really just your time is spent better in something else, because it's going to take a lot of work and a lot of time from your day. I do recommend learning it. Obviously, if you're going to live here, 100% I recommend it. But just want to note that as well. If this is just a hobby, I probably wouldn't commit. The other thing as well, guys, in terms of Spanish versus Latin America compared to Spain, it's really not that much difference. I wouldn't worry about it too much. I live in Latin, so obviously I've kind of this video is more towards that, but there's only a few differences such as a couple words, and the pronunciation of things changes throughout in a lot of countries anyway. So I just want to mention that. The next thing, guys, is you got to have a why, and your motivation behind it's got to be pretty strong. As I said before, if this is just some hobby, good luck. Like, you need a solid reason. And for me, I left Australia during COVID, landed in Mexico, knew nothing, couldn't talk to the people, couldn't really do much at all, was super lost. So obviously that was a lot of motivation for me to learn the language, so I was able to conversate and actually live there. The other thing, guys, is in terms of your connections that you're going to be able to make with friends is obviously going to be a lot better. You'll be able to talk to the people. So keeping that in mind, ease on the streets. If you are planning on, if you're a follower of this channel and you are planning on coming to Latin America and living here, you obviously want to be able to ask questions, be able to do normal things like, order at a restaurant, talk to people on the street if you're in trouble, whatever it is. And obviously to be able to get to that level in terms of being able to ask simple things and do simple things like order food, etc. That's not going to take too long, honestly, maybe 6 months to get a pretty solid level for that. The next thing, guys, is obviously dating. That's a big one. A lot of guys want to conversate with women in Latin America, but they can't. So that's another, obviously, a motivation behind learning this language. You'd be surprised how many girls here do not know English. It's super, super high. Some countries, I'd probably say there's 5% of people that speak English. It's super, super low. So that is a massive one. If you do learn this language, you're going to be able to conversate with all the girls instead of just maybe 10%, 20% of them in the countries. And then the next thing that is great about learning this language is, obviously, guys, learning another language is super rewarding. It's a crazy experience. And obviously that is another, thing that can fuel your energy to keep going. Obviously, if you live in the country, that's going to help. But in terms of your experience in Latin America, or if you're traveling Spain, it'll go from a 7 out of 10 to a 10 out of 10 if you get good at Spanish, because you're able to actually live there, get involved in the culture, date the women, etc. So I definitely recommend it if you're going to come. In terms of what I did, and the main thing that got me to a very good level is a course called Baselang. It's $179 a month, but you get unlimited lessons. So if you're planning on really going hard, it's definitely worth it. because the lessons can be quite cheap. All the teachers are from Latin America. The classes are on a Zoom call, so you're with a real person that's from Latin America, and you're following a course, and you have a roadmap that has 9 levels. This is going to take you anywhere between 1 to 1.5 years to finish, and that's if you're doing about an hour a day, maybe a bit quicker, just depending on how, if you pass the tests and how well you're going. But yeah, overall, it's an online course. I definitely recommend it, and it was the main, probably the main thing that got me to where I am today. As I said before, I'd probably commit to at least 1 hour a day or more. Obviously, the more the better. And basically, the course will just give you the ability to be able to talk and read very, very well. Your listening might be quite rough, so if you are going to commit to this course, try your best to have your teacher talk to you in Spanish. Maybe if it's after 4 months or 6 months in, obviously. But yeah, I would recommend that if you are going to commit to this course, remember to try and have your teacher speak to you more in Spanish so you can start training your ear. Because one thing that I was left with after the baseline was my talking was really good, my reading was really good, I could write, but my listening wasn't that great. So yeah. Now, obviously, guys, baseline's not worth it if you're going to do 3 sessions a month, because that's like $60 a lesson. It's only worth it if you're going to do 30 a month, which is about obviously 1 a day. If you do more, the $6 per session is going to become a lot cheaper. So if you do 60, obviously it's going to be $3 per session, which is just crazy. At times for me, guys, I was probably on average doing about an hour, 2 hours a day, but there was times I was doing 2-3 hours a day. So obviously, yeah, if you're doing 2-3 hours a day, this program is fucking peanuts if you commit. So just keep that in mind. If you can't do that many lessons, and you got 9 to 5, etc., then the next option for you would be probably going to a website like Upwork and trying to find like a private teacher. That way you can get in lessons. It's not going to be too expensive. You're looking at about $6 an hour for a teacher privately. The next thing, guys, what I want to say as well is in terms of the time length, which I've got here at the top, baseline is going to take about 1.5 years. The next thing that I recommend is Pimsleur, which will take about 5 months, that course. This course was something that I used to practice listening. It got my listening level really good. So basically, in terms of how much you have to pay for this, it's $30 a month. You get 30 lessons in 5 levels, and it's just an app on your phone. So I'd recommend jumping in on this app about 6 to 8 months after baseline. Basically after finishing level 4 in baseline, I would recommend. And then basically after this, you'll have a decent, you have a decent understanding, but your listening will be pretty bad, as I said to you before. So if you get this, incorporate this with baseline, after about a year and a half, you're going to be in a lot of better position than I was. So in terms of listening to this, just listen to it in the shower, when you're in the car, when you're on the train, public transport, warming up for the gym, whatever it is, you can just go about your own life, multitask and throw it in. It's really basic. You just got to listen. So yeah, that's that for this. The next thing I would say, guys, the first 2 things that I went over, baseline and Pimsleur, they're going to be the main things. They're going to get you really good, but this is just some other things that are bonuses that is obviously going to help along the journey. This one, probably the most, is being able to immerse yourself in the language. Obviously, if you live there, it's going to be so much better for you. You're actually going to practice. You're actually going to speak to the people. If you are doing that, you're already in Latin and you're planning on learning, or you're coming here, one thing I'll say is don't be afraid to embarrass yourself. Honestly, the people here are so nice. They're very understanding. They understand how difficult it is for an English speaker to learn this language. So, don't be scared, and try your best to speak as much as you can on the street. Have fun with it. Have no shame. Don't be embarrassed. If you're not in the country yet, but you're planning on going to a certain country, I'd recommend getting Tinder Plus. Move your location to the country. Talk to some birds there, and you'll be able to practice. Obviously, it's just writing, but you'll be able to practice there and maybe potentially set up a couple of dates for yourself as well. The next thing I do is follow Spanish learning accounts on social media. So, on Instagram, there's profiles that teach Spanish. So when you're mindlessly scrolling, if you're doing that, which you probably are, at least here and there, you'll get a pretty informational Spanish video that'll teach you a couple of things. I found that they helped me quite a lot with little things. There's good YouTube channels like Butterfly Spanish and others. Just, you know, go out and hunt yourself. But there's podcasts and heaps of channels out there that you can follow that actually give a lot of good info. The next thing you can do is change your phone to Spanish language. Would not do this until month 8 or like month 12, because it'll just piss you off when you need to go into the settings or whatever it is. So wait for that, but that's another thing that can help a lot. The next thing is trying to learn with a friend. Obviously, I don't know what your plan is, but for me, I'm in Latin America and I'm with other guys that, you know, make money online and travel different countries around here. So I've been hanging around other guys that are also learning the language. I've also got a brother that was learning as well. So if you can, learn with a friend, because, you know, it's healthy competition. You can test words on each other, and it's just something that will help for sure. And instead of you just doing it solo. In terms of the best country to start, guys, it doesn't really matter. In all honesty, you can start with whatever country you're keen on going to, but Mexico is probably the better place to start. The pronunciation isn't too difficult and it's quite simple Spanish. And just in general, going to Mexico, that is my favorite country of all. So it's definitely one of the better options to pick in the beginning if you aren't already in a Spanish speaking country. But yeah, guys, in terms of all of that, that wraps up the video. If you have any questions, let me know. But yeah, that's how I learned Spanish, what helped me. Took me about 1.5, 2 years to get to a very good level. I'd probably say I'm around a 7 or an 8 out of 10. If you follow it this way and include everything I just said in the beginning, you're probably going to do it in a year and a half. But yeah, be prepared for a lot of mistakes and a lot of hard work. Apart from that, guys, that's it for the video. I'll catch you in the next. Peace.